Welcome to the Entrepreneur Exchange on the Mesh Podcast Network, a monthly conversation about startups and small business with ideas, tools, and advice to operate your business more effectively. On today's show, what are the common mistakes that you can make that will be fatal to your business? We'll talk with Tim Reynolds, a CPA with over 25 years experience working with businesses of all sizes to soak up his experience. And we'll see if listening to too many podcasts makes his list. Also, we'll have our Small Business of the Month feature, where we'll be sharing interesting businesses that you should be checking out. Hello, my name is Jeff Newville. I'm your co-host. I'm director of the Small Business Center at Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, North Carolina. I'm joined by my co-host, Gary Muller, who is Dean of the School of Workforce Productivity and the Arts and other things at Catawba Valley Community College. Gary, how are you doing today?
Jeff, I'm doing great. It's been a great month since I've seen you last.
Well,
I've seen you many times.
You've seen me during the month. Yes.
Exactly.
Well,
Wake Forest is 3-0. And I have to say that because we could be 3-8 when it's all said and done.
Well, Wake Forest football, you should be proud of it. They've done very well for themselves. My University of North Carolina team has high hopes as well. A little slower start.
They'll be much stronger than we will be at the end of the season. But it's nice to have won 3 games. And then I played golf for the first time in 2 years.
Well, how did that go?
I'm not playing ever again.
I don't believe you, but it's good that we're here. Good that Tim's going to be joining us in a second. I was cruising around the internet, which you pay me to do.
Yes.
And
that it's true.
Came across an interesting article that I in the magazine Fast Company, or their website Fast Company, about if you're a startup, if you're a small business, you probably don't have a big budget. Maybe you've started to hire some employees, but you're just scraping by. And the question that this article tried to address with some panelists is, how do you recognize and reward your team when you don't have a big budget? So I sort of went through here and picked out a few and just wanted to bounce them off.
You thought about me, I bet.
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. I feel very recognized and acknowledged in my work.
I think you're wonderful.
College. There you go. So here are some of the ideas that their panel threw out. And I wanted to see if you would go along with these ideas, whether you disagree with these ideas, or maybe you have some ideas of your
own.
Okay. I'll share this article that I printed out with you.
Okay.
So number 1, send personalized gifts. So
how personal?
I don't think underwear, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the individual. I'm thinking if I was to send you a personalized gift, maybe it would have something to do with your alma mater, Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm. That would be good.
In your younger days, you were quite the golfer.
If you sent me some golf balls, I could have used them.
So personalized gifts would be something. You'll have to think about what I don't know. What would you send me?
Gosh, you have so many interests.
I'll let you ponder that one. Now, tell me what you think about this one. I'm not sure you or I would be as big on this one. It says establish dedicated praise channels, and they talk about being on the using Slack. Have you used Slack before?
I've never used Slack. I've been called Slack, but I've never used it. So
I'm not sure that would work for you.
Have you used it?
I have, but I've not. It's not been a very satisfying experience for me. So
how's that work?
That's a different podcast.
That's another podcast.
We're not going to go into that. Publish shout outs on social media.
I'm good with that.
You'd be good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a nice thing to do.
I think
we try to do some of that at the community college. I suspect that businesses can do some of that and share some of the recognition there. Host team activities, which made me think about when the college took us to that escape room and you were in chains and couldn't escape.
Yeah, I think that was really a good experience for everybody but me.
Okay.
Yes, they did tie me up and put a hood on my head to take me in the room. It was really cool.
Was it the bondage room? What room was that?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I've never let anybody forget that. And, of course, nobody else has let me forget it either.
I wish we had pictures to share. Give small tokens of appreciation.
By the way, they're probably really thinking a lot of our community college. We put a hood on the dean and then chained him.
I think it's standard operation at most community colleges, Gary.
It was budget time.
Yeah. provide small tokens of appreciation. Like, I mean, no disrespect. Your diet, I could give you a $20 gift card to McDonald's and maybe you would be happy.
No, I'd be ecstatic.
Okay. There you go. Small tokens of appreciation.
Right.
Is that something that you could do?
It's a big day. I might take my wife.
You're the hopeless romantic. Here's one that I like. Give handwritten notes.
My wife loves that. Tammy does.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think very personal.
Personal. It shows effort.
People don't do it that much anymore.
No, I think it's a great idea.
So consider doing that. The last two, empower your employees and ask for their input. Really engage and involve them. Doesn't really cost you that much. You might get some good ideas out of it. Why don't you ask me for input, Gary?
Well, I empower you to do whatever you would like to do because I know you're going to do it anyway.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
and
that.
I ask for your input all the time.
I appreciate that empowerment.
There you go.
It gives me comfort on when I'm on a podcast with you.
There you go. That's exactly right.
So anyway, there's some ideas. I found this on the Fast Company website, so you can go check it out and look for some other ways that, perhaps you've got some employees, don't have a big budget to have the big end of year celebration or get big bonuses. So be thinking about other ways that you can recognize and acknowledge your people.
Recognition is critical. In all seriousness.
Okay. Well, let's welcome our guest. Tim Reynolds is with us. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here, guys.
Glad you're with us.
Tim is a tax principal with the firm of Davidson, Holland, and Weitzel, which we'll call DHW because that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Here in Western North Carolina. Tim brings over 25 years of experience in areas of federal and state income, transactional excise taxes, as well as general accounting and financial statement preparation. Additionally, Tim serves as an operational consultant for the retail, restaurant, grocery, and manufacturing industry. He tries to think like the owner of the business and tries to provide his clients solutions, thinking like an owner. So, Tim, really appreciate you joining with us today and being on the Entrepreneur Exchange.
Yeah, thank
Did you bring Tim so I would know what a real CPA looks like compared to me? Is that what you...
Yeah, you both have blazers on, so you look,
I thought about that.
Yeah,
I said
you're both
we dressed right.
Yeah, so you're both looking like accountants. Well, Tim, I know that you've not been with DHW that long, so tell us a little bit about your role with DHW and the work that you do with startup businesses and small businesses.
Yeah, and mostly focused on tax and the financial statement aspect of clients' businesses, and just helping them navigate through the different challenges and different issues that they face on a daily basis or yearly basis. At that. We work a lot with a lot of variety of clients, a lot of different services, a lot of different industries. So that's kind of a nice mix there that we work with. I always like working with the new startups. It's exciting for them. They're ready to go. I love the passion. But I also like working with them a lot just because those are the ones I feel like I can help the most and get them off on a right foot, whether it be in accounting.
You're
issue or
critical
tax.
to their success too,
Yeah,
because they go into it with rose-colored glasses a lot of times.
Exactly. So just having been through a lot of those and helped a lot of clients with a lot of issues and get them started off on the right foot has always been a lot of fun. We focus obviously on tax and accounting, but we also, as strategic consultants, we look at industry issues, we look at operational issues, and we try to help clients increase profits, reduce risk, and really plan for any future transitions or ownership changes in the business as well.
Well, good deal. And one question that I always get, and I'll sort of throw it to you, is and we were talking a little bit about when we were talking about rewarding employees for a startup or small business when they don't have big budgets. It's somewhat similar for those companies when they're working with professionals like yourself, where they're not in a position to bring a full-time accountant on staff. So do you have any recommendations on how some small businesses or new businesses can work with accountants or accounting firms or bookkeepers and do it in the most cost-effective way? How do you guys look at that?
Yeah, a couple of things here. organization of record keeping is key. Doing a lot of that stuff yourself can save you a lot of money and a lot of time, of our time, really. And
I got a shoebox with a bunch of receipts. Isn't that enough for you? Come on.
That is
maybe.
a stereotype.
Yeah. But really doing a lot of the organization and record keeping and keeping that in great order on your own will save you lots of money. Because if you have us do it and you pay us a rate to do that for you, it's going to be a little more expensive. I think looking back on my career as a newly minted accountant out of the University of Toledo, one of my first clients, I worked in Cincinnati, was a restaurant. And the client would bring in their stuff, and I'm not kidding you, in 2 large paper grocery sacks. And it was every ticket from that month from every customer. So you can imagine what that looked like, right? And the bottom of the box were the bank statements, and it was just greasy, and you could see the bag was just a mess, and it was almost falling out of the bottom. But and I told the client, I said, listen, I could probably save you a lot of money on your monthly bill if you go through these. And she's like, I don't care. That's what I pay you for. Just get it right and do it, and don't worry about it. So that's one thing, is really doing a lot of that on the front end. And we see a mixed bag of that. Some people, don't want to mess with it. Hey, here it is. Some people, bring in stuff in. It's in pretty good order, but it makes for a smoother engagement and all that. Good
Well, they have
stuff.
good records. You're not be able to help them much more because
Yeah,
you don't know what got
absolutely.
missed.
Right. Yeah,
when they bring in the
absolutely.
greasy shopping bag.
Yeah.
And do you guys work with people like on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, or just sort of dependent on the client situation? I mean, I know some people struggle with making sure they handle their sales tax correctly, that they might have to send into the state on a quarterly basis.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a mix, and a lot of it's deadline driven. So some things that you have to work with them on a monthly basis. Some are quarterly, and some can be just an annual thing. So we see a little bit of everything, and it's a lot, like I said, a lot of it's deadline driven. So it just depends on the situation. The other thing I would say is communication, in terms of if you have a question or if you're not sure about something, that gut feeling just says, I'm not sure if I should do this right. Call us, because I've seen so many times it's like, well, I think I know, but I don't want to pay, an attorney or a CPA to kind of be a backboard on it, but I'll just go ahead and do it anyway. And what happens is they go down a wrong path, and it just, snowballs from there. So the point is, trust yourself, trust your gut, and, please communicate with us, because chances are we've either navigated through that issue with another client, or we know how to, help you get in the right spot. And, that little bit of upfront cost can go a long way in terms of saving long-term dollars. The last thing I would say is seek to really understand and learn, kind of the services that we provide. Don't view it as more of a transactional or just a necessary evil. When we give the financial statement, look at the numbers and see how those, equate to your daily operations and what you do in your business, and really understand and value that, benefit that we can provide. For instance, if I own a bakery, and I have a customer order, I make a fabulous cake, and customer comes in and picks it up. They're happy, I'm happy. I've taken a lot of pride in what I do. That's great. High five. But I think the other aspect of that is, I remember on my financial statements that my gross margin is 50%. So if I sold a $30 cake, that's 50% going to my gross margin. So having that little bit of a business mindset at the same time as having some fun running your business is also key. But the point is just really understand kind of your financial statements and really what you do and how that equates to
Do you
them.
walk through an analysis like that with them, even if it's just briefly on a monthly basis?
Absolutely. We try to do that. Most people want that. Some people, it depends. Some people already know it.
But you're right, it's critical.
Yeah. So it's just, here's your here's your financial statement. Don't just throw it in a corner and, not look at it. Really,
Use it as a tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and not everybody speaks that language, and
That's true.
sometimes it's a challenge. So,
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit about your work with businesses and the mistakes that they see.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've this is not an exhaustive list by any means, but these are probably the most common ones that I've run across, and probably the most critical ones that I've seen, clients get tripped up on. just when I think that I've seen it all, here comes something else, and it's like, oh my gosh, what? How in the world this happened? So, but the first one is, and this is probably not a surprise to anyone, it's cash flow, undercapitalization of a business, and cash is king, and that statement could not be more true. I mean, no matter what you're doing. I mean, cash is the lifeblood of any business. So, really, monitoring that and keeping on top of that, looking at your weekly inflows, outflows. A lot of folks start up a business or capitalize business with some are can get SBA loans, traditional financing. Others max out credit cards, borrow from family, friends. I've seen it all, and that's okay. But really maintaining that weekly focus on understanding kind of what's coming in, what's going out, and planning for that, and being proactive and being ahead of that, and taking a really realistic approach to making sure you're capturing all that data is key. The other part of that is accounts receivable. It kind of goes hand in hand. If you're selling on credit, you got to understand that there's going to be a gap between that sale and when you're going to get the money. And it's very important that you monitor that on a very frequent basis. Don't let customers string you out. Get aggressive with collection efforts. So, and the last thing is I would say is the banking relationship. Develop a strong working relationship with a bank. If you're using a bank, communicate with them. Be honest with them. If you're having problems, you're struggling, go talk to them. I mean, chances are pretty good they can help you, and they'll like you a lot more if you come on their door, 30 or 60 days ahead versus waiting until the last minute.
Better to get bad news early rather than later.
Yeah, well, not only that, getting finances is a process.
Yeah.
We just don't go to a bank and get a loan. And a lot of
Do
times.
you work with clients to help them prepare?
Absolutely.
Of course, you're preparing the financial statements. So
Yeah,
that makes
so
sense.
Banks see a little bit of everything, kind of like what we do. And if they see a financial statement that looks like a second grader put it together, how's that going to look, right? So a lot of times, they'll come to us and say, hey, I want to go get financing. Take a look at my financials, or help me get in a good spot to make sure this is going to pass. The test here. So, don't wait till the last minute. The bankers will not be happy, but they'll probably still be more than willing to help you. But the point is, sometimes when you're waiting on that, the clock's ticking, and you need that money now, and that could just snowball into more problems.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I know that one of the issues that we always run into with our small business center clients is trying to make sure that they start their business with enough money in the bank. Everyone thinks that as soon as they open their doors, they will be wildly successful.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly hope that's the case, but more often than not, it does take a while to build
That's a really
your
good
customer
point.
base. So you really need to make sure you've got enough money in the bank to cover you over those initial 3, 6, 9 months,
Right.
to make sure that you've got enough money to pay your rent, pay whatever expenses you've got out there, and not assume that people are not going to rush to you as soon as you open the doors. We hope
Sure.
that they do, but it doesn't often work that way.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my second point here is really understanding your cost, and taking a realistic approach to whatever you're selling, whether it be a service or a product, is understanding all the costs that you're going to incur, whether it's initial startup fees or whatever it may be, equipment, things of that nature, and the materials and labor and all that good stuff that goes into that is key, because nobody wants negative profit margins, and unless you're not for profit, you start your own business. That's one of the key things of going into business, right, is to make money. So just taking a realistic approach, monitoring and analyzing those on a frequent basis, analyzing the competitors, the market, what they'll bear. This is a monthly, weekly, could be a weekly thing that you look at. But not only that, just scrutinizing every line item on that profit and loss to really dial down into what the true costs are, and understand that adjustments might need to be made. It can also bring to light some issues. So back to my bakery example, if I own a bakery and I notice from one quarter to another quarter, my flour costs are way out the roof. What's going on there? Let's dive into that. Let's find out what's going on. Is it due to rising flour costs overall? Is it time to change a supplier? Do we have to order differently, or do I have theft? I mean, it could be a whole host of things. So, looking at those items and scrutinizing those is key. The third thing here is taxes. Everybody's favorite subject, right? I mean, we all love paying those, right?
It's a necessary evil.
That's right. That's a necessary evil. But taxes are always a big issue and a source of anxiety for clients. Nobody likes to get a notice in the mail, and it's all like, oh my gosh, what do I owe? And so that brings the blood pressure up a tick or two. But really, the biggest thing with taxes is a lot of people don't understand them, or they obviously don't want to pay them, and sometimes they're simply not aware of them. They get into selling a product or something, they're not aware of licensing issues or sales tax issues, use tax issues. It's a whole host of things. But on the income tax side, just understand however you're structured, whether it be a sole proprietorship or you're in a partnership or S Corp or C Corp, you need to understand kind of how you're going to be taxed and how that's going to flow to you personally, so that there might be estimated payments required involved with that. So just really understanding your structure and how you're going to be taxed for income tax purposes. Sales taxes.
Well, I have a question on that. It's sort of a question I get, and I don't think there's an easy answer to it. In that, if you're talking about income taxes, and if you're self-employed, you don't have someone paying a portion of your payroll taxes, so now that's something that you've got to be dealing with. And if I'm a startup business, I know we can do quarterly estimated taxes, but gosh, I don't know where to start. I don't know, and I don't want to get killed having to write a big check, which my bank account might not be able to support when it comes tax time. So any advice that you give to folks when they're in startup mode in terms of quarterly estimated taxes, or putting some money away to make sure that they don't get whacked when it comes to tax time?
And I think that's important, going back to the financial statements, is really looking at those on a frequent basis to say, hey, where am I tracking here? Because as a sole proprietor, you're required to make estimated payments on a quarterly basis. So understanding kind of where you're tracking. And we do a lot of this with our clients to say, okay, give me your financial statements. Where do you think you're going to land for the year? And kind of projecting that and saying, you know what, you need to pay something in this quarter. You have a bad quarter, you might not need to pay in anything in that quarter, but really just kind of looking at overall, paying attention, kind of, keeping your eyes on the road type thing. To make sure that you're paying in sufficient quarterly estimates. Because if you pay it all at the end and you owe, the IRS wants their money as you earn it, so they're going to probably tack on some underpayment interest and penalty for not properly estimating. So that's kind of how we work with the income tax side on that. But that's a great question there. But sales taxes are another big area. If you're selling a product, especially if you're selling it out of state. So if you're selling it out of North Carolina, we know the North Carolina laws for the most part, but if you're selling out of state, you might be on the hook, depending on what you're doing or how you're delivering your product, for other states' taxes. So that's always out there to be aware of. Payroll taxes, we talked about that. Payroll is probably one of the most complex areas that I see small business owners get tripped up on. It's some of the stuff can be pretty complicated. If you're not confident with managing payroll for your employees, find help. Seek help. Have somebody else do it. When I was back in my industry days, I was in charge of payroll for 4,000 people, and the first thing I learned is if you want to get somebody's attention or get them mad at you, screw up their paycheck. So it's very important. You don't want to do that to your employees. Your employees work hard for you all week. That's the last thing they need is a payroll screw up. So
when someone comes to me asks about payroll taxes, I'm generally saying, Find a service to do your payroll taxes, because as you said, it's very complicated. You're running your business. You're wearing so many different hats. To me, it would worry me.
You need to learn another skill. You need to have somebody that can help.
And sometimes if you really mess it up, you don't have just the federal government. You have a state or local agency that might trickle down to them too. So you're dealing with payroll notices from 3 different sources potentially, and oh, by the way, you're still trying to run your business. So I think it can cause a lot of anxiety. It can cause a lot of drain a lot of resources that could be spent better elsewhere. Obviously, the last one here is it's not really tax, but it kind of goes hand in hand with governmental reporting. Is 1099s. We see a lot of folks not file those or not get them right. So if you're paying subcontractors or paying various rents and things of that nature, just understand if it's over $600, you probably you're going to be on the hook for a 1099 requirement. So other things, minor things, annual reports. North Carolina has annual reports that are due, and depending on what you're doing, there could be licensing requirements. Certain types of products that require licenses. And if you're not sure, especially in the retail world where I work, there's a lot of licensing with either beverages or some, cigarettes and tobacco and things of that nature. No, those are out there, and it could be anything. The fourth one here I listed is really a lack of market research or ineffective marketing. And like I said, I love working with entrepreneurs. They're some of the most creative, innovative, and talented people that I've ever worked with. I mean, the excitement is great, and they've got the next best thing, and whether it be a service, but they think I've got a huge market for this, right? But really, it goes down to really knowing your market. They think they have a broad market for their services, and they come to find out it's like, well, why aren't sales, where they should be? And I thought everybody would just love this, and so what happens in reality is they waste resources and marketing dollars chasing consumers that never had any intention of buying their product in the first place. So really knowing your market and look at a more targeted market versus a broad market would help.
Well, and one thing that we like to talk about is what we call customer discovery, which I think is sort of before you start writing those checks and saying I've got the great new product, is actually getting out there, talking to customers to see, do they actually
make sure there's a need for your product.
Is there a need for it? Are they willing to pay for it? How much are they willing to pay for it? And doing there are no guarantees out there, but spending some time on the front end doing the market research like you're talking about can save you a lot of heartburn down the road.
Yeah, and that's my last point on that was seek resources. Partner with the small business centers such as the one you work with. There, trade industry associations are great sources of information. But just do that market research, engage that need or want for your product before you dive in head first.
Well, one question I wanted to throw at you, Tim, and Gary as well, is just when and it sort of goes back to your when you're talking about costs and your margins. Another challenge that a lot of businesses have is pricing. I'm starting a business. I want to I need to start attracting customers. There's certainly an incentive to maybe underprice initially. It's hard sometimes once you do that and establish your prices to raise your prices. So I think it does come back to the market research of trying to understand what your competition is doing. Personally, I tell people that trying to be the low price person in the market is not a winning long-term strategy. You sort of need to know what the range of your competition is, and you really, unless you've got something extraordinary, you really can't price particularly too much high outside of that range. But you can be on the high end of the range if you're offering good value. But I don't know, Tim, how you have discussions with clients in terms of looking at their pricing and determining, hey, you might be able to get a little bit more. Cutting expenses or managing expenses is one way to improve your margins. The other can be raising your prices.
Yeah. Well, when you're working with selling a product, there's three things you got to really pay attention to, and that's where you kind of got to define your market. It's like there's three things: pricing, quality, and service. And you can't be good in all three. There's just nobody. If anybody tells you that, they're crazy. You think of the grocery industry. You look at Walmart, low priced, not the best quality, service is marginal. You go to a Publix, higher prices, but better service and better quality. So you kind of got to understand what the playing field is, and then you can gauge, based on the quality, the service aspect that I'm providing, what price can I where do I want to be? Am I low price? Am I middle of the road? Or am I high price? So those are the three things that I would look at when you're doing a price analysis. And of course, tagging on along the cost, because you might say, hey, this price works for me, but if you look at your costs and you're not making any money, well, who's going to do that? So that's how I would probably approach that.
Okay, but you probably just lost us the Walmart sponsorship there. But go ahead. All right.
So, they bring a value.
Yeah.
It's just a different.
All right. You're trying to clean that
Am I
up,
doing?
right? All right.
So lastly here, very important, especially if you're selling goods, is inventory control. So whether you're manufacturing them, whether you're buying them for resale, inventory can represent a large item on your balance sheet, whether it be raw materials, work in process, or finished goods. So, and it can also be a financial drain on your cash. You need inventory. You got to sell. You got to churn and burn. So one of the biggest things I see is overproduction, over ordering. It's like it can result in some really big issues, especially with cash, because if you over order and you're not selling it, well, that inventory is sitting on your shelves and it's not doing anything for you.
Well, that's where you can really help your client, because when you're doing the monthly profit and loss statement, they could show they're making money on a piece of paper,
but there's no cash.
But they got it in inventory, or like you said, they're not collecting the receivables
right
as quickly. I mean, that's where you can really help, because again, entrepreneurs, all of us that are going into business, we're thinking about the product or service we're going to offer, not the financial side. We just assume it's all going to work out.
Yeah, and going back to my bakery examples, like, why am I making 100 loaves of bread when I'm only selling 25? I mean, that makes no sense. I'm going to either throw them in the garbage, or I'm going to put them in a discount bargain bin and sell them at a loss or a lower margin. So really matching that production with demand. Making good purchasing decisions. I see a lot of clients buy a huge quantity discount, or a huge quantity for a discount, and it's like, that's great. You got a great price on it, but you got to look at storage costs. You got to look at that cash being tied up. You might not use that
Maybe
for a
it's
while.
going to be obsolete.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially
if you're dealing with a perishable product as well. Theft and loss. Any inventory is ripe for both of those. Really, securing their high value inventory, making sure that those are locked up, having access and key controls, using cameras, having a thorough receiving process. Vendor theft is a little bit rampant in certain industries. So it's important to have somebody that's, as the goods are coming in the door, that they're counting them, they're inspecting them, they're making sure they're ticking and tying to make sure what they ordered is what they're getting, all that good stuff. Storage and handling is another issue that I've seen clients get crossways with, and that's really education. That could be something as simple as teaching somebody how to open a box with a box cutter. You don't want some person in there just slashing boxes open, and because they'd be damaging the product. You can't sell that. Who's going to buy that? So that's key. Knowing product storage temperatures, knowing product rotation practices, making sure you're putting the first one that expired in the front, because you don't want to have that one in the back because it's out of date. You can't buy. Nobody's going to buy it. Knowing load limits, on storage. You're not going to, when something it should only be stacked 3 deep. Don't make them 5, because you're going to have crushed product on the bottom that you can't sell. So the last one here is SKU rationalization. So looking at that on a frequent basis to understand, why do I have 20 varieties when I'm only selling 10 on a regular basis? So I've got 10 that are just doing nothing. They're sitting on my shelf. They're getting thrown in the garbage because they expire, or they're out of date, or out of whatever. Or sell them at a discount. So getting away from things like that. Also involves, looking at your sales velocity on a frequent basis, making decisions whether to carry, not carry, produce, not produce, and why we make a bunch of something that's never going to sell. I mean, that's never a winning combination for anything. So,
well, I know I'm sitting here with a couple of bean counters, but yeah, you guys had to have the right presentation out there. I need those SKUs. That's my old sales background.
That's right. That's your background.
We got to be able to show all those SKUs and have the right presentation. I've heard those arguments before. So
so those are the probably the top 5 that I've seen clients get in trouble with. A lot of them are fixable, for the most part. And there's some, if you catch them early enough, we can help. Some have been
good management can make them.
Some have been the demise of a company too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, I think it goes to show just a good accounting professional is going to do more than just give you numbers and walk away. They're going to help you understand what these numbers mean and hopefully manage your business more effectively. So I think that's what it comes back to what the issues that you're seeing and talking about here.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that's one of the biggest things that we like to offer is just the numbers are the numbers. Let's drill down and understand them. because you need to.
Yeah.
Well, I think those are good, solid things, and obviously they certainly overlap or somewhat accounting related, but they're also just good general business advice that you need to be thinking about as you get up and going. And Tim, any other advice that you have for our listeners who might be considering starting or growing their own business?
Yeah, we obviously focused on a lot of the negative things today, but they're good. They're good things.
But if you identify them, they become positive.
Exactly. So, but don't let those issues deter you from wanting to start your own business. I think a lot of these are things that we can fix or be proactive on. There's a lot of resources out there, whether it be a small business center or professionals like myself that can help. So, the biggest thing is do your homework, be realistic. Surround yourself with a good team of professionals and go for it.
Yeah, sounds good. Good advice. And,
Good advice.
yeah, and I neglected to ask. I was just curious, just in terms of the current business environment. I suspect that there are some tax law changes that might be coming down the pike at some point in time.
Yeah.
I know that the Fed is making noise about maybe raising interest rates and things like that. I mean, what are you anything in your crystal ball out there that says here's what to expect? Is the environment still good, or should we be tightening things up at this point in time?
Well, I think it's in terms of taxes. I think it's pretty widely known that they're going to go up. Now that we don't know how much yet. We've heard a lot of numbers being kicked around. We've heard a lot of proposals being thrown.
It's just on those rich people. Tim.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah,
That's
right. So it's still being obviously debated, but we don't really have a whole lot of clarity. We're just getting bits and pieces from different sources. But as soon as we do, we'll definitely be putting out some social media posts and a lot of the stuff that we can put on our website. That if anybody would like to look at that, they're welcome to look at it as well. But I would say just a couple other three things. I think that challenges that are a lot of small businesses are working through right now are just higher costs in general. I think really being prepared to pay more on just about everything, whether it be raw materials, labor, shipping. Shipping is big right now. Be prepared to absorb those, take those on, and more importantly, make a decision on how and if you're going to pass those along to the consumer. You got to be careful with that. The second thing is supply chain. We all know the big chip shortage and all that stuff. So whether it be availability of raw materials or sourcing from a different vendor or sourcing from a different part of the country, make it on your own. I would also ask that clients look at their ordering a little bit differently. So if I normally order a rectangular piece of sheet metal, I can't get that. Well, why don't you look at a circular piece? Would that work for you? Just being creative with that supply chain and thinking through those decisions. The last thing would be labor. I don't think you can go very far without finding a help wanted sign and anywhere you go. So, and businesses have tried all kinds of things, whether it be hiring bonuses, higher wages, flexible hours, educational assistance. I would suggest companies continue to do those. But I would also say don't overlook what you have in-house already. Take care of those people too, because those are the people that have stuck with you. They've put in the hours. They probably worked extra hours, but make sure you're taking care of them financially, emotionally, as well. So basically protecting what you've got. And the other thing I would say is now might be a good time. Maybe not so much for small businesses to look at how automation can play a key part in. If there's no labor, then, should I automate or try to automate some things? So I think those three things on top of the taxes would be some of the challenges that I think we're going to face.
Points you made about labor, your current employees, is critical because sometimes you're not focused on them and they leave, and then you got the retraining cost. And,
exactly.
And usually the person coming in will take a while, if we're lucky, to get up to that person. Sometimes we forget that.
$20 gifts or McDonald's gift certificates for everyone, Gary.
There you go.
I saw them around.
They couldn't see it on the podcast, but I saw the eyes cutting at me.
I'll take the golf balls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, we very much appreciate you joining us. We always like to have our guests do our lightning round. You up for that?
Sure.
Okay. Well, this month's lightning round is sponsored by Globo Gym. If you need to lose weight, get in shape, well, Globo Gym probably is not the right place. But if you look good, you should go to Globo Gym. Check it out on the internet. So, Tim, we've got some quick questions, quick answers. Here we go. First off, what is your biggest pet peeve?
People who don't use turn signals.
I agree with you 100% on that. We're down on that. That's
What about
excellent.
if you have one where you leave it on for too long?
I don't like that, but I can live with that. It's the people that just erratically
Awesome.
turn without telling me
Right.
make me insane. So that's a good one. Favorite vacation spot?
Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Beautiful
So
place.
sounds like a golfer.
Yep.
Who is going to win this year's Super Bowl?
Oh, I hope it's the Chiefs, but I don't know. I think it might be a repeat of last year. Tampa Bay looks pretty strong as well, so we'll see.
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Rolling Stones.
No
jumped on
hesitation
that
there.
one.
Yeah. Any TV or movie streaming recommendations?
Oh, geez. I like Narcos. That was really good on Netflix. And that's about it.
No, we'll check out.
I don't really.
Narcos.
If it's not sports, I generally don't watch it. But,
Okay.
I did kind of get into that one.
Last question: if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh wow. Probably just to be able to fly. I don't know, just
That's
take
a
off
good-
and go anywhere I wanted to.
That's a good one. All right, I think that would be a good one. All right, well. Thank you for joining us. If people are looking for you or your firm, Davidson, Holland, and Weitzel, where can they find you?
They can find us I can be reached at 828-322-2070 or
Right, well, is that a real phone number? Wait a sec. Yeah, okay.
yeah, or at tim@dhw.cpa.
And what's David's, Holland, and Weitzel's website?
It's www.dhw.cpa.
Okay, that's where you can find Tim. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for being with
Thank
us.
you.
We always like to end up our show with a couple small businesses that we've come across. So, Gary, what small business are you going to give a shout out to
This will be a
this month?
surprise, not
Okay.
really. This month, I'm going to highlight two of my favorite places to eat when I go to our Alexander campus in
Okay.
Taylorsville. And as you know, I love food, and I love Southern family-style food and barbecue.
I better not be McDonald's.
It's not McDonald's.
Okay, go ahead.
I could have used that because we're there many times a day. And with those clues of family style and barbecue, do you have an idea who it might be?
I'm open. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the first restaurant I want to talk about is Scotty's Hometown Grill. Have you ever eaten there?
I don't think so.
Okay. It's hometown cooking at its best. Casual atmosphere, friendly service, and great selection. It's a place everyone raves about, and you will. When I'll take you, we'll go out to Taylorsville and we'll see our facility.
Okay.
Never had a bad meal at Scotty's.
Okay.
The second restaurant I want to highlight is Apple City Barbecue. Have you had that? It's possible.
I actually have had that.
I was going to say because we cater at the college.
Okay.
then
No,
every
I've
once in a while.
stopped by there before.
Okay. I noticed that they're open just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now. But that's probably perfect. You may get too much barbecue. But they're dedicated to serving authentic, pick-cook barbecue smoked slowly over hickory wood. Family-owned and operated, so we like that. And like I said, they offer, just like Scotty's, dine in, dine out, and they'll cater. And so I wanted to recommend both of these because it's got great food. And of course, there's small businesses that are still doing well in the pandemic. So,
Well, good deal. Yeah, and I've had the barbecue. Good barbecue.
yeah, it is.
So, small business that I came across is called the Devil's Foot Beverage Company in Asheville, North Carolina.
I like that.
It was started by a husband and wife, Ben and Vashti Colvin, and their friends Jacob Bauman, Aaron Wilson, and Carly Reese, who set out to solve a problem: how to create a healthy alternative to alcohol and sugary artificial sodas. So they have come up with a line of natural sodas that can be used as mixers or just you can drink them on their own, from ginger beer to blackberry ginger beer, limeade, lemonade, and different types of flavor. Ben Colvin credits his wife as being the inspiration behind the company's name when the group was experimenting with concoctions for ginger beer and other cocktail mixers in their kitchen. said a group of friends were having a beer, and my wife found out she was just pregnant, and she was looking at us having a beer, and she was drinking water, and she was feeling a bit grumpy, and realized that there was a gap there that was missing that they have worked to change. So they use natural ingredients found in the Asheville area, organic sugars, local and regional honeys, lower calories than your typical soda. So we should be checking them out. And their website is devilsfootbrew.com. You can find them in over 300 locations throughout the Southeast, including Earth Fair. And they're actually right in our Mesh neighborhood at a place called the Beer Cellar, which just is a couple blocks over.
wow.
So, and you can order online. So anyway, guys should check it out.
Very good.
So listeners, if you've got a suggestion for the Entrepreneur Exchange Small Business of the Month, you can email them to us at eexchange@themesh.tv. And if we use yours, you'll get one of our prize packs. We want to thank Tim Reynolds for joining us today, and we want to thank the Mesh Podcast Network at themesh.tv. You should be checking out all the cool podcasts that they have to offer. They've got some new ones. They've got some old ones. They've got all sorts of cool stuff going on. So go to themesh.tv, check out all the podcasts there. And we're moving into fall. Nice weather. Get outside. Enjoy yourself. And we look forward to talking with you again next month.
Take care.